Learn to Fight. I'm your host, Manny, and today we're getting into a discussion about time. The year's already halfway over. It's already 6 months in the year, and it flew by. It always flies by. They say the average human life has around 700,000 hours, and it takes about 10,000 hours to master a skill. It took me at least 10,000 hours to get that black belt. And I would say I'm good at jiu-jitsu, but there's still a whole lot to learn. I would say fighting, I've been fighting more than 10,000 hours. My whole life I've been fighting, doing martial arts. So it's been well over 10,000 hours, and still every day I'm learning something. But this discussion about time, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your time? Also, how different cultures view time. For myself, growing up in life, especially back in high school, middle school, I would always be late. I would always be late. And you could say, it's a black thing, whatever. Maybe it's true because I really looked at it and thought about like, damn, I've been late damn near 95, 99% of the time. And anybody who knows me knows what I'm talking about. So is that a black thing? Is it really a black thing? Also, my Brazilian buddies, a lot of great fighters are Brazilians. They're always late too. So it must be a cultural thing, And I really started looking at that. Different cultures really do view time completely different. When you're in places like Portugal, everybody's more relaxed. Everybody's kind of just taking it easy. There's no rush, They're enjoying life. They're enjoying their time. And that's how I like to live. I like to kind of relax, take my time to get places. I like to pack a lot of things on my plate, and maybe that makes me end up being late. That was the rhyme. That rhymed. That was bars right there. But I like to pack a lot of things on my plate, and maybe that results in me being late. But however, I just thought that was an interesting thing to get into. So, time. We're already 6 months into the year, and we're on like the 7th or the 10th. I don't even know what day we're on, but we're 6 months into 2024, and it flew by. For myself, I got a few of my goals done. I went hard in the beginning of the year, had some fights, really grinded, and now I'm about to go hard again in this last half of the year. But they say as you get older, time goes faster because you have more memory in your storage system, meaning your brain. So when you're a kid, time took forever. You're in class 6 hours. It takes forever to get through when you're like 10 years old, 11 years old, 8 years old. 5 minutes at 7 years old seem like an eternity. 5 minutes nowadays flies by unless you're in a cage. But I was just thinking about this, and it made me really think: how are we spending our time? And or a lot of us really measuring our time and really looking at how we spend our time. It takes, if we all have, or most of us will have, give or take, 700,000 hours to live. I think it's going to be on the higher end, but for the average, a lot of people are going to live about 700,000 hours. So what are we doing with that time? In that amount of time, you could master so many different skills. You could learn how to fight. You could become an expert chef. You could do whatever. But the majority of the time, I think a lot of us are wasting time, if we're not really keeping track of it and setting goals. And that's why it's so important to set goals. In a week, you can get so much done, and in a week you can not do anything. So it's a weird thing, but I just had a real busy week. Traveled all over the place, went to Missouri, got a few things done, saw a couple of my friends get black belts, and that is a beautiful thing, because when they get that black belt, it took so much time, effort, and to finally get that moment. But really, it's about the journey. It's one of the best moments in life, in life, that I've experienced, is getting that black belt, because you reminisce on how long it took to get there, and all the relationships built to get there, and all the ups and downs, throughout life to get there. So for myself, I think, even if you're not a fighter, even if you're not even going to be that good, I think setting goals for things like black belts and martial arts, setting goals, these things are what really make life worthwhile and make life fun. And when you don't have goals, life is kind of just like pointless and meaningless, because you're kind of like a ship going through the ocean with no navigation. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. You don't know why you're doing these things. And that's why I think a lot of people get depressed in the long run. Culturally, African culture, we chill out. We take our time doing things. We get things done, but we take our time doing things. So I got disciplined so many times growing up for being late. It's ridiculous. I'd be like 1 minute late, always 5 minutes late, 4 minutes late. Didn't matter if I was like super close to my job. It didn't matter if I was super far from my job. I'd always be about 5 minutes late, or 3 minutes late, 4 minutes late. And I'm thinking, why is that? Is it possible that different people, different ethnicities, we perceive time a little bit differently? And if that's the case, we all shouldn't just be on like a blanket time thing. It shouldn't really be a big deal to start something like 5 minutes late, in my opinion. I get it. People have things to do, but we all really do perceive time a little bit differently for multiple reasons. And I've seen this in Brazilian culture, and I've seen this in the African culture. Only time I'm on time is when it's something extremely, extremely important. And even then, it's a struggle to get me there on time. And that's not because I'm lazy. It's not because I'm unresponsible. It's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? It's just really who I am. I'm sure a few of you guys know what I'm talking about, and agree with that. Like, I'll never be late to a fight, because obviously I'm not gonna bitch out of a fight. I'm gonna be on time to that fight, and I'm gonna beat your ass. But I find it very hard for me to be on time for certain things. I don't know what it is. It's just like so many things pile up. Maybe that's a lack of discipline. But however, I think it really is almost a cultural thing, and different cultures view time differently. And that goes into the next topic, which is, in the whole timeline of the world, if you can go to any time period, what time period would you go to? Drop a comment in the section below. You guys know I'm super interested in Egypt, and I just did a video on it. I'm super interested in ancient Egypt, or Kemet. And I would personally, I want to see when they created those pyramids, because there's just so many. It's like the biggest mystery in the world, and there's so many misinformation, and we don't know really much about it. And if we do know much about it, it's kind of being hidden from us, the public. So that's what I would want to see. But just for the sake of the video, since I just made a video on that, I'm gonna give a different time. So for myself, if I could go to any time period and see anything, I would want to go to probably the maybe like feudal era Japan, and just see how things were, while the samurais and all the wars, all the death matches. I would love to meet Miyamoto Musashi and like see what he was like. Or I would love to see Genghis Khan's time when he was conquering everything. They say Genghis Khan, like a big portion of the world is related to Genghis Khan because that's how many people he impregnated and how much stuff he took over. So I would want to see how brutal things were back then just to get equilibrium to how good we have it now. You know, in the past, it was just crazy. You know, it was like Genghis Khan, he wants something, he's gonna go in, his people can go in, take everything, kill everybody, take what they want, destroy the town, you know, and now it's theirs. So I would love to see that time period, Genghis Khan or the samurai or the ancient Egyptian period. What time would you want to see? You know, I think there's so much history that's been like misrepresented and changed because it's so easy to do it. If I look at my life, and we look at back in high school a few years ago, I don't really remember a lot of things. I remember highlights, but someone could easily be like, "Oh yeah, this happened and that happened," and it's kind of worded in a certain way because everybody remembers things differently. So history is a very fuzzy thing, and I think a lot of things were misrepresented in what we learned in school, at least in American public school. So I would want to see Genghis Khan's time period and see what was really going on. See what we got here in the notes. So 6 months left in this year, 2024. We're going into 2025 shortly here. And before you know it, we'll be in 2030. So everybody watching this is in different points in their life and different frames in their life. I really want to stress like we all should be setting goals. I think everybody should learn how to fight because life is a fight. Every day is a struggle, every day is a war. And we have only so much time. That brings me to this clip Muhammad Ali made about life and time and how much time we really have. So let's take a look here.
When I retired from boxing, I really don't know. I want to say something right here. This might make you all think. Life is not really long. Let's say the average person, 30 years old. If you're 30 years old, you are not but about 7 years old. How can I prove it? Add up all the 7, 8, 9 hours you slept for 30 years. Out of 30 years, out of all the nights, last night when you went to bed and woke up this morning, you don't remember a thing. You've been unconscious for about 8 years. If you're 30 years old, you slept about 8 years. Okay. How much traveling have you done in 30 years? From the television station to home, to another country, to another city, to school, to church. You've probably traveled 2 years your life was spent just getting back and forth to where you're going. So there's 8 years of sleeping, 2 years of traveling. There's 30 years out of your life before you accomplish anything. How long do you sit in school? In America, we stay in school from the 12th grade from the 1st grade to 12th grade. Same here?
Yeah, virtually.
6 hours a day?
Yeah.
6 hours a day for 12 years. Break it down. You sat in the classroom for 3 years without leaving. Okay, 2 years of traveling, 8 years of sleeping, 3 years of school. How many movies have you went to? How many wrestling matches? How much entertainment? How many movie theaters, live plays, baseball games? Probably 2 years of entertainment. So by the time a man, you older people know him, bear witness what I'm saying, by the time you have children, by the time you have made a way for your children, by the time you pay for your home, you push your 60 years old. So life is real short. So you add up all your traveling, add up all your sleeping, add up all your school, add up all your entertainment, you've probably been half your life doing nothing. So what am I'm 35 years old, 30 more years, I'll be 65. We don't have no more influence. We can't do nothing much at 65. Your wife will tell you that. So what I'm saying, when you're 65, ain't too much more to do. So did you know I'll be 65 in 30 more years? In those 30 years, I have to sleep 9 years. I don't have 30 years of daylight. I have to travel back to America, take 6, 7 miles. All my traveling, and probably 4 years of traveling in the next 30 years, about 9 years of sleeping, television, movies, entertainment, about 3 years of entertainment. Out of 30 years, I might have about 16 years to be productive. So
Yeah, so that's a very valid point. When you look at time in that way, all the time we're sleeping, all the time we're traveling, all the time we're going to work, all the time we go to school. How much time do we really have to do what we want to do? You know, and if we're not measuring it and setting goals, it's gonna slip away from us. That's why Ali was just one of the most influential figures in history. He wasn't just a boxer; he was a real influential guy. You know, so I disagree slightly on a few things. I think when you're 60, you still have a long way to go. You still have a very long way to go in life, and I've seen it. You know, you're 60, you still have a long way to go. You know, if you're living healthy and stuff like that. So I just really want to stress today we have 6 months left. Set a goal for the year. Set a goal for the rest of your year. Whether it's fitness, whether it's some type of hobby, whether it's some type of skill, whether it's spending more time with your family. Because how much more time do we have with our families? No one knows, you know. So when I'm at the end of my life, I want to make sure that I spent time doing stuff that I love in this life, spending time with my family, training, learning how to fight, having fights, having exciting moments, you know, connecting with you guys on here. These things are what is important to me, you know, building relationships. So I want to build my life in a way where I can spend the time doing the things I want to do, because that's what life's about. It's not about slaving away and not having enough time for your family and stuff like that. Yeah, we all have responsibilities. We all have to make money. We all have to do these types of things. But it's important to just keep balance in life. And I think that's really, really what it's all about. You know, trying to build a life to where we can get enough freedom and do. It's weird because we all spend our life, what we're told is work super hard until you retire, and then you're gonna have enough time and freedom to do whatever you want. But that's not the case, you know, especially now with inflation and how money is going. You know, $100,000 today might be worth like 50,000 in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So in that time period, you're not going to have that same amount of free time that you think you would have. So I believe in every single day you create your free time. Every day, set a goal, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. And even if you have to work 12 hours, you know, you have to sleep 8 hours, give or take. There's still those pockets of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, where you can put after X amount of time put together, that creates significant time. You know, whether you're creating something, learning a skill, spending time with your family, whatever it is that you're doing. So that's how I like to live my life. And I think it's important that we all remember that to live a good life, you know, because look at how fast this year has already gone. And for me, it's always like the first 6 months of the year takes forever. The first 6 months of the year flies by. The last 6 months of the year take forever. So this last 6 months, I'm grinding down even harder. You know, we have 6 months to get it done, to do whatever it is that you want to do. So, and in 6 months, you could really change your life. In 6 months, you could be in a completely different scenario, completely different area. You know, life is about knowledge. That's what the fight game and fighting martial arts has showed me. Life is about knowledge, you know. So if you learn something every day for like an hour or 30 minutes, by the end of your life, you're going to have crazy amounts of knowledge, you know, and that knowledge is going to be able to give you time. That knowledge is going to be able to give you the path to more freedom, more money, more freedom, whatever. But just learning those skills every single day. So ideally for myself, I try to listen to an audiobook regularly while I'm walking. While I'm walking 2 miles, my everyday 2 miles, building my metabolism so I can live longer. At the same time, I'm listening to an audiobook, learning. At the same, whether it's about fighting, whether it's about business, whether it's about whatever, you know. So I think that's the best way to live life. Killing two birds with one stone. But back to the one of our early topics on the culture, how different cultures view time. I think in America, you know, America is a business, and it's in school we're taught to sell our time for money. I want to teach my kids to be able to sell products instead of selling time for money, because if they sell products, they'll be able to get more free time, right? That's what my parents, you know, are entrepreneurs. My mom's an entrepreneur, you know, came to America. They weren't taught the way things were done in America. So when they came, they were just entrepreneurs, and their mindset wasn't time for money. It was, you sell products, you get money. You have time. Even though if you want to make money, you know, in America, you really do have to grind and you really do have to spend a lot of time. But I do think there's a balance, and I think there's a way to make everything work, make a lot of money, have time with your family. You know, I just think it's just about gaining more knowledge and figuring out how to do these things. But if you guys could live in any time period, you let me know what time period that would be. And I think discussions like this are important because as time goes on, as every day passes, we have less time. You know, every day that passes, every minute, every second that passes, we have less time. So I want to make the most out of every single moment we have. You know, one time I had a mushroom trip, and that was the main message in the trip. It was like, hey, don't waste your time. Hey, leave, you know, don't waste time on stupid things. Make sure you're spending time with your family. You only have so much time in life, you know. We're all gonna die one day. So you got to remember that. Remember that the time you have is precious, you know, and really just make the most of it and enjoy it. You know, enjoy the ride, enjoy the time. So that's it for today, guys. Show some love in the comments. Let me know what time period you'd want to live in, if you live in any time period, and learn to fight.